Yeah. Okay, the only thing on the map is the big bud, so you can't really jump into something else. And I've got it all filled up and everything.
Oh yeah, here. Planting corn. We're planting corn, I guess.
No, this is canola.
Oh, or canola. All right. Evan Jones, welcome. Oh, nice. Congratulations, girl. Girl. Okay. Wait, got a viewer in real quick here. Okay. What's going on here?
So that's got 3 trailers on it rather than 2, so you might have to hit Y and get back to the back one.
Yeah, I see that. Doing that.
Yeah.
Welcome to my
It's a little
stream,
weird.
and welcome to the chat. Hope you stick around here.
My kick isn't working.
I was gonna wonder if you were on Kick as well. I mean
I
I got
tried
you on YouTube for anybody that's on your channel.
I tried. For some reason it says Restream says it's sending, but it's not. So I switched myself over to Facebook.
Okay. I'm on
Um
YouTube and Twitch. Looks like
I'm
we're
gonna
both
have to
running.
I'm gonna have to play with that this weekend and see if I can't figure it out, or
Well, it could be just Kick itself, new website, and they're just not got all the bugs worked out, or they're doing
well,
updates.
and last week it wouldn't even do anything. It just said I was offline, and this week it says that
I
it's
mean, it could
streaming, but
be
it wouldn't post it.
okay, but you're still going through Restream, so that's.
Hey Ronnie, how's it going?
Oh yeah, Ronnie, you there? Yeah. Um, before we get into everything, you mentioned you wanted to talk about the race last weekend. I didn't catch it, so you'll have to get me filled in on what was going on. I didn't get a chance.
Oh, well, Hunter, of course, ran away with it,
Yeah,
but Chase was trying to chase him down,
Jay
and
Sexton, right?
yes, and yep, we're planting canola, Ronnie. Trying to get, I think we're gonna get a couple fields of canola in, and then we're gonna after this stream we'll switch it over to the next day. We'll probably go back to harvesting something, I think.
Yep. And we're gonna get into some
Anyways,
topics there too. But yeah, anyway, back
anyways,
to the race.
so Sexton went down like 3 times, twice in the first race and I think once in the last race. And you could tell he was getting frustrated, and then the comments that he made, it's just like I think he's finally getting to that point where he doesn't have the speed, and his style of racing, he never was a speed racer. He was a just being consistent.
Yeah. No, right. Chase.
And
Well, it's a Supercross
And
season. He threw opportunities away. Oh, hey, Paul. Broken Arrow Farm in here.
Hello.
Cousin-in-law for me. Welcome.
Anyways, you could tell he was getting frustrated, and I think we talked about this last year about how or maybe this was a couple of years ago, how the racing has kind of changed, but I think Hunter is kind of changing it again. And I think out of all those guys that are racing currently, Roxon's the only one that actually could keep up with him, but he's just a bit too old, and
yeah, he's a little past his
and a
prime.
little beat up.
Well, beat up, a little past his prime because
he tried. He raced it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was about the only one that could keep up with Hunter.
That's surprising.
Jet.
Of course, he's a
Jet.
good outdoor. He's a good outdoor.
Yeah,
guy.
he was the only one that could keep up with Jet. The only problem was he just ran out of steam. He just didn't have the energy to carry it the full.
Well, we're
and
talking
he, and he wasn't passing it. He wasn't passing him, but he was keeping up with him. He wasn't. It was like Jet wasn't pulling away from him.
Yeah.
Like he's been pulling away from everybody else. But you could tell Sexton. I don't know if I gotta kind of wonder how long he's gonna be with Honda.
Well, yeah, and there's the whole oh god, I'm brain fart. Who slept
Webb.
Webb.
Cooper Webb.
KTM. I just wonder if there's something.
It's kind of sounded like
headlamp.
he is going to yeah, that's kind of what I was doing here too. He kind of sounds like he's gonna do his own thing for the playoffs and then look for a new team.
Yeah, and I wonder who's. Honestly, Kawasaki needs somebody. So I wonder if they'll have to kind of pay up.
Well, right now they've got Anderson, but Anderson's just. I think he's past his prime too.
Yeah, he's his best. Well, especially in Supercross, his best years is behind him, I think. Unfortunately, and I really like Anderson because he was kind of like a. He's kind of like a. I don't want to say he's a dollar store Dungy, or he was a dollar store Dungy. He was kind of same kind of guy, just not as consistent. So,
the thing that'll be interesting though, if you watch the 250s, like so, Hunter has Jet's just running away with the 450s. Hunter is having a heck of a time, even though he's winning I think he's back in the lead again. Even though he's just having a heck of a time in the 250s, and Deegan for a rookie is actually like not doing too bad, and it's not like he's making the normal rookie mistakes. I mean, he kind of is, but he kind of isn't. He's actually kind of riding like a veteran.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about him only because it looks like it's not gonna go that way, but for a little bit there, it kind of looked like we were gonna have maybe kind of a Alessi 2.0 kind of situation potentially, but like Brian's for the most part staying out of stuff. Unlike Tony.
Brian's actually in the background and actually doing stuff.
Well, that's what I mean, but he's staying in the background.
But the thing is, like, he's been there and he knows what this life is like. So
but you could argue
probably.
that Tony Alessi too. I mean, he should have known better than the whole than he weasels his way to get himself a job on that back in the day the Moto Concept team, kind of deal. Almost like an boy, this is a stretch of an analogy, but almost like an Aaron Spelling deal. Produce all the shows and then cast your daughter. So she's always got work. I mean, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but
No, it's not. That's exactly what happened.
well, yeah, with her, but anyway, my fear was kind of that Deegan might try to steal a little bit of the limelight just to keep the brand going, the Metal Militia thing. But I think, but so far, other than a few little incidents that you could argue one way or another if they were over the line or not, but they weren't egregious or anything, and he's pretty much letting Hunter do his thing and win and lose on his own merits. That was
Yeah.
sort of the problem with Alessi. Is looking back, almost poor kid was living in not a real reality for the beginning of his career.
Well, I can't remember what show it was. They made a show about following some of those motocross racers. In him, they had him, his dad, or the youngest, his dad and his girlfriend, and they were talking to him before the beginning of the season, and his dad's like, "Okay, what's your goals for the season?" And he's like, "To win the championship," and it's like.
Yeah, and it's like that's not realistic. I mean,
That's not realistic right there.
well, and then the thing is like, and maybe the whole Alessi's a little jaded by how he entered, and then when he entered, because Carmichael was just on. I mean, I don't want to say in the beginning, but he was right in the middle of his of the trajectory of the perfect season and all that. And I mean, you could just tell it was who's going to get second already, and then all of a sudden we got this believe the hype stuff, and it's like no, just no. I mean, everybody knew it was going to be Carmichael's year or years for the foreseeable future. I mean, it was almost written. And here's punk kid gets booted on like the first lap, But
something else that's been kind of funny to watch or fun to watch this season is so there's 2 or 3 privateers that are actually, one of them I think is a top 5 for sure. I think he's actually fighting for top 5, like not just every week, but I think he is in the points for the season too. And then one of them, he's not necessarily a true privateer, because he's actually on a factory team, but he's also kind of just a guy to fill the seat kind of thing.
yeah,
I think, but he's like doing really good. And they're talking about, I mean, like part of it is there isn't the bigger names in the sport aren't necessarily on the track, but
yeah, well,
there
right.
are a lot of big names still in there, and they're still beating them.
Yeah,
Not everybody's out there, but there's enough of them out there, and they're going out there and they're actually battling them.
and I wonder, this is something I thought. Honestly, it was in a group. There was a healthy discussion going on. I guess. Well, actually, I tell you what, it was a picture posted of actually Eli's. Well, I think it was like Eli's dad, Tomac. Remember, but anyway, long hair. Looked like a combination of Justin Barsha and Eli Tomac and uh, on a mountain bike. And anyway, the comments was kind of just tongue in cheek, like they're calling it like uh, Eli Barsha or like Eli Barsha or something. They were kind of making fun because it kind of looked like that. And then I got to and at first I thought, oh, this is like an AI generated image, and somebody put in Eli Tomac and Barsha, and it's like, okay, this is what it would look like if you combined them, Um, but then I got to thinking, it's like, somewhat the racing has gotten, and I'm talking about Supercross here more than anything, but I'm afraid it's transferring into motocross a little bit. Is it's getting a little bit robotic, and these kids coming up, they're just so good because it's almost down to a formula of how you be fast, how you win a race, or at least be competitive. And the joke is the riders are just becoming almost robots, and maybe not so much just the riding, but the personalities and the marketing and just the whole thing is almost getting robotic. In the fact that, and I don't want to say getting boring, but it's like, okay, this is how you're going to be if you're going to be a motocross racer. This is the script kind of thing. But and Hunter's probably the one that's breaking that mold a little bit, but he's only well, I mean, he's winning on his own merits, but he kind of broke in just because he had name recognition, a little bit of name recognition. People were going to cover him because, oh my God, as Deegan, Danger Boy, we've been hearing about it or whatever, gonna pan out. Looks like he kind of is. So good for him, but I don't know if there's any merit in that.
Well,
if it's
we'll
robotic.
see, because they were talking about how like the 250s, the factory teams on for them that actually makes a difference, and that's why like the privateers that can actually the privateers that are doing good are on 450s, because they say the 450 bikes, they can't really, they have power out of the factory, and so the factory teams don't have to do as much to them, whereas the 250s need the horsepower to make some of the hills that the 450s do. So
and it's always kind of that way in the one with the 125s
we'll see.
too.
What I'm saying is, we'll see when he hits the 450s if that changes, because right now he's got the the power behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. But with all this said, that kind of we're talking about, I'm wondering if it's even possible to see, if we're ever gonna see like a Carmichael or a McGrath or anything like that, ever again. If those if those days are gone.
No, I don't think so. As long as Jet doesn't get hurt, I think Jet's the next Carmichael and McGrath.
Maybe.
So he's already undefeated so far this season.
But I mean, to have the reign that and then like McGrath, I mean, good as Carmichael was, he was the only one to come close, and he was still two championships away from that.
Well, the only thing that I could see he could foreseeably see maybe throwing a wrench in Jet right now is, if he ever gets injured and loses, if he ever has a serious injury that makes him lose some of his speed or confidence or anything, and then B, if his brother's just as good, or
Yeah.
almost as good, you know. So what happens when they actually, because they haven't on the pro at the pro level yet, they have not raced in a, you know, when Hunter gets up to the 450s, it'll have to happen. So
Yeah. Well, and that might be a unique story, or a storyline that will play out. That's probably almost never played out in this kind of racing. But I
two
guess,
brothers that are really fast.
yeah, they're racing family, and that are almost equals.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because I also even go back even to the older days of, say, like Bob Hanna and stuff. Are we? I don't, are we probably. I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. I mean, Stewart was probably the closest to kind of have that kind of wild and out of control and still be able to save it kind of riding style. But yeah, I don't know. It's just different, and I just wonder if it's the bikes are so good, the teams are so good, the regimen is so good. Because even if you know you're riding, you're practicing sometimes with your competition these days, where that just wasn't a thing back in
Yeah.
Michael era and before, especially. I mean, that's more of a recent thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I watched a lot of, like, Carmichael, and there was Carmichael and Emig, and sometimes McGrath would get in there. Some podcast stuff where they would talk amongst, well, and even Carmichael and Stewart, where they'd be talking about, and it's like, oh my gosh, we would almost, other than like a Fox ride day or something, we would never be seen on the track together, just practicing. You know, we
Yeah.
weren't gonna show our hand.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
like a
and
mutual
I
thing.
I kind of wonder if, like, because the first people to kind of really do that, or at least that you kind of really know, is Villapoto and Roxon,
Yep.
because they brought Roxon in to help Villapoto out, and then Roxon caught on a little bit too quick, and it
Yep.
kind of sabotaged things.
Well, yeah, and they'd actually sort of talk about that and this is older podcast stuff, but within the last 2 years they were talking about some of this stuff where, like Villapoto, you know, just got tired of it and quit, kind of quit while he was on top. Some people, didn't like that. We're not planting anything else, right, for now?
We got 2 more fields to do.
Oh, okay. I'm folding it up now.
Or we'll plant until we're done.
Okay, that's
Until
fine.
we
I
don't
was
have to do
folding it
both.
up for transport because I thought, oh, we're gonna have to park these.
Well, it's just right over here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be so believable. It's this field to my left.
All right.
I'm gonna go to the other end of
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna start on this.
Well, and another thing is, it's amazing now how international it is, because the Lawrence brothers are from Australia. There's Valley from France. Um, there was some others on there I can't think of off the top of my head.
Speaking of that, remember, I mean, there was always, the foreigners, but they never were too much of a threat or to, the Americans. They had Bill, like David Villeman and those, Frenchie, all that. But, and speaking of that, kind of made me think of, and I need to buy it on DVD, just have it. But the made for TV movie Disney movie Motocrossed.
Oh.
As corny as it is, I don't know. I like it. Might rank up there as a sort of a guilty pleasure thing almost, but anyway, it's just so, oh, we gotta go find a rider, and you had to go to France to find a rider. It's like the cliche of the rude French guy. And I read some things that like it was kind of modeled off of David Villemin, because nobody really ever liked him back in the day. But then I got to thinking, of course, I do own that SuperCross.
Well, yeah.
and here's the thing: I actually think motocross. That's something we should talk about. Well, I guess we could right now, but that's something I actually think the made-for-TV Disney movie Motocross is actually as a movie and even as a story. I think it's a better movie.
Oh, it's been a while since I know what the story is about. I can remember it, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
I mean, it's a little bit it's I don't it's a little bit like Fast and the Furious. It's corny. That they don't get everything right. But I like it because it's a decent, and there aren't too many like motorcycle yet dirt bike movies that are any good. I mean, everybody references or mentions like the Dirt Bike Kid, which is Peter Billingsley, and it's just too campy. That was in the 80s. That was 87. He's the Christmas Story.
The young kid?
Yeah, he's Ralphie, but he's in the Dirt Bike Kid. He's the dirt bike. Anyway, but how I got to thinking about motocross and supercross is I happened to run across. I didn't watch it, but it came up in my recommended feed on YouTube. Like some channel watched it, but it was. I think the channel was more like a channel that kind of reviews like made for TV movies, but was like because in the title it mentions something about like feminist or something, so obviously it steers that direction. Strong female protagonist. So I didn't watch it, but it made me think about that movie. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time, because the only time I ever would see it was on TV, and I think I might have tried to tape it like on VHS one time, just so I had it, but it was full of commercials. It's probably on a tape somewhere I have, but it's not good quality. Try to find. Well, I mean, it's probably online somewhere, and I could probably rip it, but I'll just. I always kind of keep an eye out and see if it's in like a $5 bin or something, or $3 bin, and pick it up.
Yeah.
Because actually, shifting gears a little bit, with movies and stuff, I've been doing this for the past probably 5 years, actually, maybe even longer, is picking up and buying them like out of the Walmart $3 or $5 bin, or wherever, Big Lots, or I see a movie, and it's usually older stuff,
Well,
buying it mostly because finding it on some streaming services is hard, or it's always just behind a paywall behind a streaming service. I don't pay for all but one, kind of thing. Well, technically two. Technically two. I have Hulu, and then of course, because I have Amazon Prime, I have Amazon Prime Video.
You say the bargain bin shopping like that. So about I haven't done it for a few years, but therefore, oh, this is about 4 or 5 years ago. I would buy because I was on Facebook dollar auctions in a couple of different towns that I could go pick them up. I would buy DVDs that people were selling, and buy them for $1. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you don't want that movie? I'll take it. and
yeah,
I still have them because even though we're all internet based society, and everything, if power goes out or not, well, I guess if the power goes out, you can't do anything. But if I do have internet outages occasionally, and or when the weather's just right that you just don't get any internet,
yeah.
um, that it's kind of nice having something to fall back on. Oh well, I can just watch.
Well, and I guess
So
that's
I
not
so
really
I
why.
still keep them around. I
Yeah,
don't I
well,
don't do that so much anymore. I don't buy any
and that's the
anymore,
thing
but
is I have a brand new, gonna keep it in the box, Blu-ray player as a backup for 30 years down the road. Kids are grown up and stuff, and like, because and we're already seeing it now. This stuff, companies change, or they buy up catalogs and then they put it behind a paywall, or they lose the rights or licensing to it, and so then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want to watch something, this thing, and but it's like, okay, well, where is it, or it's just not available right now. And the whole deal about, because we're really shifting gears, because I'm kind of going down a whole like, you know owner, will kind of like the whole subscription model, you will own nothing and like it kind of thing. Well, I want to own this stuff, especially um especially something like this, movies and music and whatever, but movies, and be able to just watch it when I want to watch it, where I want to watch it, and how I want to, kind of
yep,
thing.
yep.
I mean, like, for example, well, for Father's Day, Katie bought, and I guarantee it was in like the $2 bin, and it was Encino Man. I mean, I never had a desire before. Yeah, but here's the thing. Of course, I never owned it, because it's like, well, why would you want to? But in the past 20 years, it's like, oh, I kind of wanted to, a, that movie, and others like it, a brainless movie like that. But also, it's a one that I, when it came out, because it was like the movie of the month on like one of the premium channels we had back in the day. So I saw it a lot. But it's like, okay, when the
Well,
kids,
I get that. I've got a couple of those too.
yeah, but
Um,
like, the kids are going to get older, and it's like, we make, in our daily lives, we kind of reference and meme this stuff, but it's like, oh, you gotta, I mean, it's just like, eventually they're gonna, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch the Back to the Future trilogy, that kind of stuff, because it's not gonna go away, and it's like, well, maybe it won't be available or easily available to watch, and they won't just probably discover it on their own, and such. So yeah,
well, it's like
I bought up
I have a
movies like that, or I'm buying up movies like that. Like, I have Son-in-Law, for example. I have some of the other Pauly Shores, but then like the Eddie Murphys and uh, movies. A lot of the '90s and earlier stuff.
yeah,
We got
yeah.
modern movies and action and stuff like that. And but like, for example, I have all the, well, but I bought up all the, what I call the classic, James Bond, so I can watch those whenever I want. Because, like, I don't, they're they're all scattered amongst, just because production companies changed over the years and all this. So it's like, if you wanted to watch all the way through them, start and have be a week or something to see them. Uh, uh, they'd be scattered across different streaming platforms.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I have everything up to the like Timothy Dalton's, because after that I kind of
I never was hugely into it. It was just that one was one that I can sit down and I've watched them, but they're just
well, they can be hit and miss. And then even in like the new ones, like I do own a couple of the new ones like Daniel Craig's and whatnot, but
no, I definitely am not into his. I'd watch some of the others before I watch his.
but
I'm I'm
again,
not,
they don't.
I'm just for some reason he just doesn't it just doesn't hit me
Well,
right, I guess.
I get it, but you know probably why, because he is more plays Bond more the way he was written in the books, which I've read a couple of the early books, Casino Royale and Doctor No, and it's definitely different than the tone is definitely different than. But anyway, that said, I like certain ones, certain Sean Connerys and certain Roger Moores, um, and a lot of that's because TBS back in the day played them a lot, and Dad liked them, and so watched them over and over on like TV. Of course, a lot of them were edited up for time that way, so
Yeah.
in my first watchings of a lot of those, except for the Timothy Daltons, because I got those were still being made at the time, so I got to go see those in the theater. But I for the longest time I never really saw them in their entirety, like not edited all up for TV. So, but again, I don't bust those out every too often. I mean, I probably haven't watched a James Bond movie at all in
Well,
like 5 years. But
you, you'll know because you watched it with me. This is going back to your college days, but I get cravings. I still get cravings. In fact, I've got one now. Currently, one of these days, I'm going to watch House of a Thousand
oh
Corpses.
yeah,
Even though
yeah.
I've watched that a billion times, and like supposedly the critics say it's not a movie, but I still love it.
Well, it's not a traditional movie, but it's kind of like what, and to me, it's kind of like watching analogous to watching something uh, like the Beatles, like A Hard Day's Night or Help or something. It's a movie, but it's not a movie. I mean, it's more cohesive than something like that, which those were
Yeah.
art pieces. But it's kind of like that. You're watching it for a different reason than to
Yeah.
see a movie, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how to. I know why you want to watch it, and honestly, that's one I hadn't thought about. It's like, yeah, I should actually get that on DVD just to
He's
have
got
it, or Blu-ray or something.
there's so I've watched all of them. I own most of his stuff, but that one is that one was good, or I consider that one good. Um The Devil's Rejects, which I think you've watched that one with me
Yeah,
before.
I
And
didn't
then the
think that
one
one
that
was
you
quite as
probably
good,
the
honestly.
one you probably haven't seen was the one that he did like a crowdfunding for,
No, I
and
haven't. I know which one you're talking about, but
is
I haven't seen it.
is
No.
uh is 31, and that one was pretty good too. And it's kind of like the Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. It's kind of along those lines.
Yeah. Thinking of other movies that I've gotten recently that you might think is odd, but like uh the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies 1 and 2, I could care less about them. But again, not gonna watch those all the
The ones
time.
the ones that we watched in the 90s,
Yeah,
or
the
the
90s.
new ones.
No, no, not the new ones. The the the
Uh,
the old
oh,
ones. No,
you
I
know,
will never uh I will probably never own any of the remake stuff, and that's the thing. Hey, Ronnie, or well, Ronnie's been in here, but hey, Ken, Wooden Metal Workshop, in a while, chatting about things. But
You know, you were bringing up the kids and watching stuff with the kids. So my cousin, he's a little bit older than me, but not by much, just a few years. He
John or
no, not John. He's a relative of both mine and John. So
okay.
he's on the other another branch of the family.
Okay.
But anyways, he his kids wanted to watch the new Ghostbusters when it came out a few years ago.
The the not the 2016, the more recent with
not the one with the gals in it, the one that
that's
came
what
afterwards.
I mean. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I saw that
but
one.
he told his kids, you will not watch that until we watch all the originals.
Right. Well, you have to. Well, that's the problem with these either remakes or reimagines or whatever you want to call them. They don't. Now, not generalizing here, but some of them can't stand on their own because you need to know the source material. And yeah, I agree. And that's part of why I want to own it, because I don't want to have to basically pay to rent it all the time. Pay a monthly subscription to maybe watch it. Maybe one day I might want to watch this one movie that, again, I might not only see every want to watch every 5 years. Like, again, recently bought or got, acquired, Encino Man. I'm not gonna watch that movie all the time, but every couple of years I'm gonna want to pop something like that in. It's same with a lot of the John Hughes stuff. I own all that. Again, I don't want to watch 16 Candles all the time, but once in a while. And then again, the kids grow up. It's like, these are cultural. Some of these movies are culturally significant,
Yeah.
and rites of passage almost. I mean, and then I got older movies into the 70s. Of course, like, say, like American Graffiti is a big one for me, just 'cause.
I haven't seen that one in a while, but that one's a good one.
But again, yeah, that and well, and like the old and the new, Gone in 60 Seconds, and other movies like that are and then
that one I don't necessarily get cravings for, but I do like to watch it occasionally.
Yeah, again, I probably haven't watched
I
it
just
in the
like
last 3 years, but
yeah. Well, and that's kind of the same with if I watch any of the Fast and the Furious, I like to watch the first one, and I just like to just watch it every once in a while, not necessarily because
right. And I tell you, when it comes to the Fast and Furious, I only own the first one. I thought about picking up the second one, even though I didn't really like it when it came out, but it's at least a little bit similar to the first one. But say, are we completely done?
Yeah,
with
we
this?
got another.
No,
we
at
got
this
one
field,
more.
are we? Like, it's not rendered right in my.
No, it's because I ran out of fertilizer and I didn't fill it back up.
Okay. But yeah, Fast and the Furious 1 is, I own, and that's the only one I ever care to own. But I thought about picking up 2, just because it's not as. I mean, obviously, it sort of starts the wild. Actually, Tokyo Drift probably is the other one to own, just because it's a little more akin to the.
Yeah, I like Tokyo Drift was kind of interesting on its own. This is the next field we'll do.
Okay.
This is the last field we'll do, and then this is all the canola that we're gonna plant.
Okay.
I'm gonna save the other fields for wheat and barley next month.
Okay. Well, the chat here, somebody just watched Casablanca, and yeah, I don't own that one, but that is one I should get. But like, and of course, Gone with the Wind. I got a lot of those cut type of movies, and again, I'm not gonna watch those all. Every too much. But again, culture is significant. Probably going to be hard to find just randomly streaming. Like, okay, we need to watch this, kind of thing.
If
But that's like a 4 hour
um
movie, so I mean,
yeah.
gotta well, and again, like Ten Commandments and Ben Hur and that kind of stuff.
Are
I
you do you like are you talking about Fast and Furious that you like for all the vehicles? Um the only one vehicle wise I really didn't like was I think it's 5 when they're all they have for vehicles is the police cars, which are like Dodge Chargers, the new Dodge Chargers. Other than that, yeah,
now
the
now
vehicles
see
are kind of cool to see in
it's
them. That
funny you say that because I haven't seen past 5. The last one I saw was when me and you saw 5 together.
yeah.
Okay, you know how long
So
that's
the
been.
last I watched 9. I won't. I'm not. I'm gonna wait on 10 um because it's.
Well, my
I heard it
parents
was
have
a
seen
two-parter,
them
and the
all. I
other
mean,
one
they
doesn't
go.
come out for a couple more years. But 9, 9 was a little bit too out there for me.
Well, here's the thing with the
Although
vehicles. The
you might
vehicles
like,
actually
you
don't
might,
interest me though, like that. Those
you
those
might,
type vehicles, I guess, don't. I mean, the Fast and Furious one do, and it's probably because that hit right. I mean, I wasn't into the tuner scene, but
no, yeah,
but
we
well,
weren't,
we
but
were, but we weren't. I mean, well, think about my.
we weren't because we're more
Well, we were American Muscle,
American Muscle.
but uh oh shoot, I'm out of fertilizer, but I can keep going, right?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay.
Um,
Um but I mean, like the neon lights under the car. Um I had that before the movie existed, kind of thing. And
yeah,
we weren't into that, and the custom but again, read movies or read, magazines. We knew of the culture. There was a few TV shows like on TNN that was starting to come on, and then later it was Spike. Um, they acquired that network, but and I guess it's just because it was something. Well, it was a type of movie you really hadn't seen before. A movie that was trying to just be more about our culture, and you just
yeah. Well,
the
that's
closest
what the first one
movies.
was
I
too.
mean, the closest movie at up until then that really even that was like that was pretty much American Graffiti, but it but even that wasn't really a car movie. It was a coming of age, if you want to call it, a type of coming of age. It centered heavily around cars because, well, that's what you did, and we still grew up in that type of era without the
Yeah,
without the internet, or at least always on internet and texting and all that. So car was the once we graduated from our bicycles, that the car was the social outlet. So again, and then this movie hit, and it cemented that because we were doing elements of Fast and Furious, if you think about it. I mean, some of that,
yeah, yeah,
not obviously exactly, but we had we could relate to it. And I think a lot of people our age could relate to why, even as silly as some of the the technical jargon tried to throw out there was, it still was like, hey, they tried, and it wasn't pandery, I guess, and have to. And then of course, just before that was of course the Gone in 60 Seconds. So those two movies kind of fit together, I guess, a little bit for
yeah, yeah,
because it kind of was like, oh wow, are we entering in it? Because this was before the superhero stuff really started taking over. Because I think the whole Spider-Man thing didn't happen till '02. The Tobey
Yeah,
Maguire,
but
the Tobey Maguire
that
stuff. I mean, yeah,
that
you had Michael Keaton Batman in the '90s and all that, but it didn't start really taking off with that in my mind until like that the whole Tobey Maguire thing, Spider-Man. But I'm sure there's other movies that can pivot that I'm just not even into that world, but that's one I remember. You know, having seemed like it impacted the direction. So I was like, "Oh wow, are we gonna start having more movies that kind of have stuff I'm into?" But because yeah, before that you had much like American Graffiti. You had, of course, there was the original Gone in 60 Seconds, uh, 74, but in there, of course, you had like Crazy Larry, Dirty Mary, but I don't know that one. Yeah, it has cool cars in it, but it's not focus. I mean, there was, you had Smokey and the Bandit, I guess, was there. Can't quite
hmm
can't forget that. But again, that was a little more tongue in cheek stuff. But I like that movie. Of course, I have to own that.
yeah.
I don't like the second or
Oh, the second one was the one I remember growing up the most, and I kind of liked it. But I actually, ironically, don't own it.
another one that I
I
own the
haven't seen it
original,
for
but
years.
I but I'm sure it's out there. I haven't really looked, but I can't find it was a made for TV, but I have the original Vanishing Point, but I'd actually kind of like to have the one that was made for TV and it aired on Fox. It it was actually, I felt pretty, actually it was more cohesive than the original. You've probably not seen it, but it wasn't too bad. It I had a couple actors that were kind of big at the time. Can't think of their names. Uh, that's one looking for.
Yeah.
But again, going back to other movies that are not car movies, I've been trying over, yeah, probably over, maybe even call it like the last 10 years, trying to buy up so I just have them so I can watch them when I want to watch them. A lot of the, again, culturally significant or ones that have significance to me that I just, again, and Encino Man kind of falls in there. It's not a good movie, but it's one like, well, I saw it a lot, and you know, it's so kind of like so silly. I can remember when I saw it for the first time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other ones like that. Mentioned the John Hughes stuff. Oh, the Home Alones, but again, kids can watch those, and they have. And Tucker, well, he likes both of them, but his whole obsession with cheese pizza came from the first one. uh,
I have not seen Corvette Summer.
I have not, but I've heard of it.
I haven't even.
Uh, actually, one, of course, it's free to watch on YouTube, but it's oh, what is it exactly called? Like Hot Rod something. It was made in the late '50s. It's a kind of silly, but it's all about kind of like hot rods, like you'd think, the deuce coupes and stuff, but made in the time period. Um, like hot rods something, can't remember. I've watched it a couple of times, but it's 100% on YouTube. Maybe because it's in the public domain. I don't.
Yeah.
Ken in the chat might know what I'm talking about. If I popped out of here and looked it up, I could find it. But it's because it's well, it's one kid, he gets a car, he wants to, drag race and stuff. I mean, the moral, it has a moral, of course, is, they build a drag strip so the kids aren't racing on. It's like take it to the track, or the not the cops, but the mayor of the town and stuff. It's a very has a bit of a cross between a bit of a Leave It to Beaver, Dobie Gillis, and a little bit of and maybe a little Gilligan's Island to it to feel the movie. But it's black and white. I can't think. Alt tab out and find. And let me get to wrap this. But and it's only like 70 minutes or something, so it's not long.
Yeah.
Of course, movies back then.
Yeah, they were only about an hour and a half, or
Yeah.
hour and 40 minutes at most.
Yeah, unless they were the epics.
Sometimes they would go an hour 20.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't a high budget thing even. I don't know of any of the actors in it. Oh, and of course I own obviously Wonderful Life and
Yeah.
so I can watch them. I only watch that once a year, but easy to find it, easy to play it.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm gonna keep, but that's why I got a new in the box that I won't mess with. Well, I have to D player because eventually they're gonna quit. They're gonna quit, making those. Let me see. Screwing something up because it's something you ought to watch just because it's kind of hilarious. All right. Thinking of. Actually, I think it's literally called Hot Rod. Yeah, it is. 1950. Yeah, 1950. Yeah, it is literally just called Hot Rod, not the funny one. The modern one, I guess, with who's it? Jonah Hill, right? Anyway, it's literally called Hot Rod, but 1950. But yeah, it's free on YouTube. It's only 59 minutes, so an hour. So it'd be one to watch. Escape from New York. Never seen. Actually, I'd never seen that one, but makes me think of other movies. This popped in, but things like Logan's Run. Some certain movies like that. I'm acquired. Those are a little more obscure.
Yeah. I've seen Escape from New York. It's been a while, but yeah, it's not a bad movie.
Actually, a lot of ones I've been inquiring lately is a lot of the 80s and like early 90s movies.
Did you get Tango and Cash?
No, no, but I should. I should.
That's what that was. I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite. Probably one of my favorite of those type of movies.
Uh, the other one we bought recently, it was more one Katie had some more nostalgia for. Um, Snow Day? Was it literally?
Yeah,
I think Snow Day.
that's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. I again saw it. Not one of my favorites, but again,
yeah.
Tucker is just getting old enough. He liked it, so it's one of. Um, but yeah, there's
That I wouldn't know. I've seen the movie. It's been a while, but
talked about Bond. Again, I got all these movies. Of course, I got
have
all
you
these
been buying?
movies that I want to, but kids just got to get older for a lot of the stuff I'm really looking forward to.
Did you get any John Wayne ones?
Oh yeah, we own, and mostly because Katie owned that stuff.
No.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I
I don't
you know, I
like
mean
all
I
his stuff, but I like
no.
a good amount of it. And same with the spaghetti westerns, the Clint Eastwoods and stuff. I have those. Again, they're ones like I'd probably only bust them out every 5 years or something like that. But
Yeah, well, and there's
again,
only for me there's only a couple of them that I bust out that I actually enjoy watching. The others I used to watch them, and I just because parents watched them, and I just never. But there's a couple of them that I always found entertaining, and if they were ever on, I would always watch them, unless of course they were on like weekends back to back, and I just watched it.
right? Yeah. Uh, what was the
This
Stallone movie with cousin? Oh, I
shop
know what you're talking about. Yes, and I can't think of the name. Um, I can think of well, what's the one where he's driving a semi? Top, but over the top. Okay, but um, with the chop, I know exactly. I can picture it. I can picture it. I just can't. Can you Google it for us? Because otherwise I gotta hop out a game. But it's it's right on the tip of my tongue. I just can't think of it, but I know what you're talking about. Speaking of Stallone, the ones I don't own and then I won't own, but I'll probably have to watch them when they get again old enough. Just they know them is the Rocky movies, but I never liked
I
them.
we never really watched them when I was a kid. I don't know. That was just something evidently my dad wasn't into.
Yeah,
Um, we were into action movies. Well, I guess that's not really an action
Cobra,
movie, but
the movie Cobra. Yep, that's it. Yep,
um,
with Stallone.
but yeah, I didn't watch the Rocky movies until I got older.
I saw him when I was young, maybe too young to really understand the culture, the significance of them. And then I
You,
watched them
you know,
later too. But
another one. And I don't really have a desire to watch them, and this is probably really bad of me, but like Scarface and The
you know
Godfather,
what? I have never.
I've never really watched them, and I really don't have a desire to.
I have not.
Because
I have not seen those. However, neither is Katie, but we have told ourselves, we should watch them because you know, everybody, anybody who's anybody has, they seen them, and there's all these references, and I get where the references come from, and I know enough to get the
Yeah.
get the joke and all that.
Well, and I feel like I know enough that I feel like I know enough that I know that I probably wouldn't enjoy those movies like everybody
Well,
else does.
that's the thing. Uh, well, and I'll tell you another one I've not seen that I keep telling myself sometime see it is Citizen Kane, but I've never.
I've heard of it, and yeah,
Again, it's a culturally significant type thing, but not seen it. But yeah, the Godfather trilogy and Scarface. Yeah, everybody's like, oh my god, uh, and I just, yeah, I know, I knew enough that it's kind of like, I don't think I'm gonna, I don't think I'm gonna like. And it's not like I don't like movies that have some type of mob, organized crime, familial themes in them. It just, I don't know. And Al Pacino, I like him in other things. So, but I just don't know.
yeah, I like the Expendables. I guess I like them more because it kind of like going back to the car movies. It's to see all those action heroes together in one spot, or most all the action heroes together in one spot. It's just really cool. Even if a couple of them, even like three of them are way older.
Um, yeah, and speaking of action movies, and I do like action movies, but I am not particular about them. Like for example,
I'm
Die Hard, like Die Hard. Not, I don't hate it, but I don't have the nostalgia or the fandom like most people. That's another series.
I that's
I would
that's
I
more
would
of
pick
a to
something
me.
like 48 hours or another 48 hours over like that movie. Um
Well,
and even
something for me about Die Hard is the nostalgia is watching it on TV
well,
because
right.
it used to be on like I think it still is. It used to be on like TNT all the time, and that's where I watched it. And um,
Yeah, Ken.
so to me, that's like part of the nostalgia is catching it while it's on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, Scarface is Pacino's best work. Oh, I know it is. I mean, that's the thing. I wholeheartedly understand that. It's just,
Yeah.
I I oh, it's- I, what it is. I can't seem to turn too sharp. Oh, lost my train of thought there for a minute. But yeah, I don't think I'd like the movie as a whole, not the performances and all that. Um, but I was also thinking of another one that's kind of in the '90s. It's a little more of a, again, you'd probably think it's odd I'd want to own it, but mentioned Die Hard, thought of Bruce Willis, and then I thought Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, Death Becomes Her. You know,
Hmm.
hilarious, and again has some nostalgic uh, sentiment for me because again, when we had some premium channels, a premium channel, Showtime, they you know they usually aired them after, and again they were uncut and no commercials, and it was like a movie of the month. So I like saw it a lot when I was a kid. When I was actually too young to really fully grasp all the theming and
Yeah.
joke in that movie, but I liked it even then as a younger, as a probably too young. Well, definitely too, kind of about midlife crisis and stuff. um, with some sci-fi in there, uh, but that's one I bought recently because it's like, okay, every once in a while, because it's just, now of course as an adult it's hilarious. There was so much when I first watched it more as an adult. I like, how did I miss some of these jokes? It's like, well, you kind of got to be older and understand the vein and aging and just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, is this it for? Do we have another?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is all the canola. We will be in September the next time that we play this map, and we will have to see because September should bring some more harvesting, so we might be switching from the big buds back to a combine for a stream or two. We'll see how many we'll see how many fields pop. But I didn't want all of the fields planted to because we have I think we have 7 fields that we could have planted, but I didn't want it all canola. I wanted to kind of split it up.
Yeah.
And canola is the only thing that can be planted in August, so I thought 3 fields of it would be good enough.
No, that's good. Ken
Well, and
says in the
that may be part of it too. Is I may just maybe just not in the right. I don't know. I'm more of a horror movie, and I'm not talking like necessarily the newer horrors. I like more of the slasher type stuff, and then like action and I do like I am into the Marvel movies and superhero movies. I guess it's not just the Marvel movies, but
yeah, I guess. See, I've seen some of the action hero movies, modern ones. I guess really I've only seen like the Iron Man ones, and then I think I did see one of the ones where they're all together a couple years back. But that was partly because parents wanted to see it, and like Jody and Tom, they kind of watch those, and I just not really into it. But I don't hate it either. I don't hate them. I just don't
yeah.
care about all the lore. I don't care to get into all the lore. I guess I can shift into it's kind of like what the behemoth Star Wars has become. I really only ever want to pretty much watch the original trilogy, um, Star Wars or A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi, and really don't care about the others. I've seen the modern ones a couple of times, but they don't have the same rewatchability like those older ones. And I don't know, might have been because those were more in my formative years, so it tickles the nostalgia feathers in my brain. But I don't know. I don't care about. I guess what I don't care is I don't care about getting to know all these little details about that little droid in the background. They're almost getting to that level of the world building, and it's like I don't care. I honestly like the fact that a lot of that's left to you to think about, and maybe fill in with your mind and imagination. That's why I'm go back to the Back to the Future stuff. I'm really glad that will those will never. Well, shouldn't say never, but if they ever would make a 4 or go back to try to make or prequel it or somehow, I'm not even sure what you'd do. But I love it that nobody's messed with that because I don't want to know any more about that universe. It's fine the way it is. I'll fill in the little gaps in my mind. And that goes with some of these other movies that have multi parts and stuff. The Terminators. I've only seen Terminator and T2. I didn't see anything after that. I didn't care to.
Yeah, well, those are the only ones, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but those are the only ones that are good.
Oh, I'm sure it is, and the consensus is too. But again, there's people that are in there and they want to stitch it all together. And to me, they are two sides of the same coin, and they tell a story, a warning, a thought experiment, a whatever you want to call it. They do it well, and that's all it needs to be.
It's funny. I just saw this wood and metal workshop. If you were I don't know if I think you were around when we were talking about this earlier. So a lot of those, I don't own all the Marvel movies, but a lot of the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas and stuff, when I was buying those dollar DVDs, some of those was how I got them. People were actually selling them, so it's like, yeah, I was gonna buy them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shifting to like DVDs, and then I've bought a lot used, some TV on DVD. The stuff I really enjoy, bought new and bought the box sets years ago, like the King of the Hill. I'm a big fan of that. But then there's like the Andy Griffith Show. Grew up on that, and that box set, that for a long time. And then same with like Lever to Beaver and some of the honey. Oh, I still need to get that because there's so many versions, because some of it's in the public domain and some isn't. But I need to get, there's a collection and I got to figure out which one it is so I buy the right one that has everything, like some of the lost stuff, the stuff they've recently in the modern era found, some old kinescopes of the variety show hour, that stuff, of the honeymooners. But and again, because I kind of grew up on that, it was on rerun on what channel, but something, and folks watched it, and I thought it was hilarious and just a unique look into the history of TV is all it is.
Yeah.
It's like they essentially broadcast live a stage performance and then recorded the live broadcast on with a camera pointing at a TV. Essentially, how they made those recordings. That's just how they did it. So for me, some of that old TV, like I Love Lucy and stuff, which I'm not really a big fan of, honestly. But again, it's culturally significant. But how they put those shows together, watching it and seeing how they put it together versus all this new dramatized stuff that is good, but how they had to do it because of limitations and the scope, and just still new. Like for something that's modern era, I mean, I know it's like 10 years old now, but Mad Men, that series. And of course I borrowed it. I don't own it, but I borrowed it from somebody, and this has been a long time ago, but because I didn't watch it when it was originally airing. But Breaking Bad, probably would never watch through that again, but I really enjoyed it. It got bonkers there for a while in the series, but it was unique TV, especially for. But so that's like some modern stuff that Mad Men I own, but not Breaking Bad, and I don't think I don't know, my taste. I mean, if Katie was on here, she's like, he only likes to watch. Then that's kind of true. I have a hard time. I have a hard time wanting to go to new like current movies, just because I guess Hollywood, or the Hollywood machine, has betrayed me in the last, God, like 10 years, because all they want to do is remake or sequel or retread old IP, and it's like, give me something fresh, or take a chance on an idea and put it out there. And not that it still doesn't happen, it's just it's hard to weed through the trash, like the John Wicks are something that I wouldn't think that I would like, but honestly my
I
parents.
still haven't seen them, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to.
Well, it's
Those are.
funny. I probably wouldn't have seeked them out on my own, but my folks, they saw them in their original runs, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta watch them." So they bought us the set. I mean, my mom loves them, and I didn't, because I knew what it was. I was like, "Oh, come on! It's just body count every 2 seconds." And yes, that's what it is. It's just a body goes down about every 5 seconds. Well, I'm exaggerating, but the way it runs and goes, it's it doesn't get old. You'd think it would, but it doesn't get old. It actually is very cohesive, and it's almost just amazing how they're able to just do almost a 40-minute just bloodbath, but not get old, Whereas you watch a modern, in my opinion, modern Star Wars or even the modern Marvels, they're shooting and fighting and swords going or whatever they're doing, and it gets boring after a minute. But you should give it a try. I could tell.
No, I plan to. I plan to. I don't just because I haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that I'm not going
Yeah.
to. It just
But again,
haven't.
that's something like I want to own it because I don't want to have to go look for it. I got John Wick 4 that I got to watch yet. I haven't. Got to make time to watch it. They can sometimes tend to be a little bit long. But yeah, like Katie would say, I don't like to watch, and which is kind of right because I just again, the Hollywood machine has betrayed me, and I just immediately have a bias that this just isn't going to be whatever it is. Just probably isn't going to be good because it's just going to have to pander or.
You have a great night too. Well, we're
We're almost
almost
done
done
here.
anyways.
When we're done, when we're just sitting here looking at each other on each other's streams, we're pretty much done. So yeah, hey,
Yeah.
we're probably gonna. I'm thinking about actually switching this. Maybe our regular night be Friday nights. It seems to work a little bit better for me. At least right now.
Well, I think most of the time that probably wouldn't be a problem, but here in a couple weeks it will be.
Okay. Well, we can still do Thursdays or play it by ear as well, but just recently
Yeah.
better.
If you asked me like a month ago, I'd have said yes, but like the month of August is probably not going to work because there's
Then
two
we'll
or
we'll do
three
whatever
times that I can.
night more can work for you, or if we have to skip a week like we did, it's fine. I was also gonna say I am going to be working on the rental, so I'm not sure what nights I'm gonna do that. So that'll cut into that, and
yeah, we'll just keep playing it by ear,
and then we'll see when winter time rolls around and what that is.
Yeah.
Sometimes Monday nights can work even too, as far as that goes. I thought I'd throw that out there. Oh, the other thing, before I forget, but KBPI car show's coming up. It's August 13th, and it's gonna be the last one at Bandimers because Bandimers is shut, or at least Bandimers is shutting down, or they're gonna have to move. Is what the deal is. But
yeah.
And had I got to thinking, had this idea, it's like, shoot, should have seen if we could work it, because it's on a Sunday, if you had some PTO, take Monday off and do a quick out and back, and I'd kick in a little or something like that. But that's probably not gonna, if you wanted to come to it just to see it, because it's the last. But it's probably too late. And honestly, it literally just popped into my head. I don't even know what we're doing that weekend. So, I'm thinking about showing there too, getting my motorcycles out and showing one last time there because I haven't done that since like 2014. So I don't know, but that was something that Willie was talking about it today. Is why I even popped in my head because it was unsure if Bandimere was even gonna run a full season. I mean, Mile High Nationals, which is a legendary race, was just last weekend, and it sold out. And people were pissed because they couldn't get in, and they literally couldn't hold anymore. That's just how everybody wanted to see the last race there.
Yeah.
And I had kind of forgot, and so I didn't know, hadn't really heard anything, and I had, after I heard, because it happened this spring, they announced the deal about them closing. KBPI didn't really have anything up about the car show, so I was like, oh man, maybe they didn't get their stuff together in time and weren't be able to do it because they always have
I've heard them. I've heard him talk about it a couple of times. That weekend we've got some family things
Yeah.
going on,
Well, like I
and
said,
I could probably swing it, but man, I would be really tired by the time
well,
because I'd
that's
have
the
to
thing.
come
It would.
I'd have to come out on Sunday, so then I would
Well, you'd have to
which
come out
it
Saturday because it's on a Sunday. Well, that's the thing.
well, but that's the problem is I couldn't come out on Sunday. I couldn't come out until Sunday morning.
Yeah, you'd be.
You know,
Well, and then you'd be there all day. It wouldn't be fun. But again, we I didn't even
some
think.
we need to talk about though, and I was gonna bring it up, but I didn't want to er, because of everything and stuff. But we need to start thinking about our Halloween.
Oh yes, yeah. Let's get thinking about that so we can do it.
What we're gonna do for that this year.
Yeah. Um. And yeah, we'll talk more in depth. But we did that where we streamed at the same time, and I my Atari. So, or we could even do farming too, as far as that goes. Uh. But yeah, we'll think about it, see if we can do a um do something different, do something unique. Maybe if we could get somebody else in lab it or two even. Yeah, we that's gonna be on top of us pretty quick actually. Now that I think about it,
Yeah,
we're
well, and
about through July.
that's why I wanted to maybe start talking, throwing
Yeah,
ideas out there now how we wanted to do that.
yeah. Um,
But I didn't want to with your family and everybody being around. I didn't want to like throw it on you
oh, well, yeah.
on the
That
4th.
would have been, but yeah, um, yeah. I want to do like we're doing here, but somehow Halloween theme it, or I don't know. But we'll talk more. I'll even mention it to Katie. But yep. Well, I think I'm gonna stream down here.
Yeah.
It's about